to, I wanted to take some time out on this solemn holiday because I don't say happy Memorial Day because there's nothing really happy about this. This is really a solemn occasion, but that's not the point of this video. This is one of the most important things that I think I'm ever going to say in a live stream. And this involves a confessional. I have to confess something. And, in the Bible, it says, confess your faults one to another. Now, granted, I've been very, very harsh on the Bible for the last 2, maybe 3 years. And in the process, I think that I may have hurt some people. And that's what I want to talk about today because one of the things that I endeavor to do is to create a delineation between hurt and harm. Because there are many things that are said or done that hurt us. They cause a momentary discomfort. They cause a unsettling or unbalance of our thinking, of our perception. These things hurt, and they cause either physical, emotional, or mental pain. And what I want to say is that for those who feel hurt by things that I've said or things that I've done, I want to say, I'm sorry. I sincerely apologize for hurting anyone. Now, again, I make it a point to do no harm because, see, harm is different. Harm leaves a scar. It leaves an impact. It's like the effect of a meteor hitting a planet. It leaves a crater. There's evidence that there's something that was damaged. And I really, excuse me, endeavor to do no harm. And this kind of comes out of a conversation, a talk that my friend and co-host Aaron Tomlinson did yesterday on his Sunday live stream. And he said something that really spoke to me, that really resonated in my heart and in my spirit. And it was this. He said, for many of you have been following me and I went somewhere that you weren't ready to go, and I realized that you may feel abandoned, and I get it. For many years, I was a Christian pastor, a bishop, a teacher, a theologian, and I had many followers because of that. And then about 3 years ago, I came to the conclusion that I no longer believed in any of this. And I know that there are people who I ordained or consecrated that they've abandoned their credentials because they didn't want to be associated with anyone who considered themselves to be an atheist. I get it. I get it. So for everyone that looked to me as a spiritual mentor or guide or anything like that, and you feel like I dropped you off, I left you in the water in a rowboat without a paddle. If that is your thing, I'm seriously sorry. But I have to admit, and this is my confession, is that I have a horrible blind spot. And this is a blind spot that comes from intellect. And I don't say this to be arrogant, to be a smartass or anything, but I'm a pretty intelligent guy. I mean, measured objectively, high IQ. And because of that, I think that sometimes there are things that I get conceptually, And I get frustrated when other people don't. Now, I'm grateful for one thing that I wasn't this way with my kids. I was very, very patient with them. You have to be patient with children. Um, but I think that I'm not very patient with adults. And that's my confession. So I'm like, when I see something, I catch something, I understand something, I'm just like expecting everyone around me to get it like I get it. And that's an unreasonable expectation. That's honestly a failure in leadership. It's a horrible, horrible blind spot. And again, Aaron's talk yesterday helped to expose that because he apologized for taking people to a certain place and then basically moving on without them. So this is what I want to say, that for those of you who have been on the journey with me, that haven't abandoned me, that haven't kicked me to the curb, I want you to know that that going forward, my promise is to be more patient, be kinder. Now, let me say this. I give no quarter to religion. I personally think that religion is useless, worthless, and absolutely, positively, totally bullshit. However, I think that every human being, even the ones I don't like, are eminently valuable and eminently helpable, eminently redeemable. And so I won't just simply dismiss anyone out of hand. Now, ground rules. The one thing that I won't tolerate, I won't tolerate insults. I won't tolerate ad hominems. I won't tolerate any of that stuff. If that is the approach that you will take to the discussions that I have, then you can expect a response in kind. Because throat punch Derek ain't dead. Okay? So that's one. The second thing is that I will I'm not opposed to disagreement, but I am opposed to protracted arguments. And so I say this, that basically, if I post something that you disagree with, you are absolutely welcome to voice your disagreement. And at which point, unless there is something in what you said that causes me to rethink my original position, I will say that what you've pointed out is duly noted, but it doesn't change my thinking at all. At which point, the conversation is essentially over. If it goes one step beyond that, then I'm not going to entertain the conversation. I'll shut it down at that point and leave you to share what you believe in your space on your time. I don't have to deal with that. But for the people who genuinely want to learn, genuinely, because here's the thing. I wrote a book in 2016 called Deconstructing Religion. And I believe that book has helped a lot of people, judging from its sales, because it's still selling. I still get checks every month from the sale of this book, and that's cool. But it helped people to get past some of the hard stuff that religion had imposed on people, right? So now I want to take this a step further. So I'm writing the sequel to this book, and the sequel to this book basically unpacks some more religiosity that is inherent to Christianity, and it also gives some insight into my path into atheism. And so I'm going to be dealing with that on the way. But people are deconstructing, people are going through things, and I honestly want to help. If I could say anything about my life's meaning, my why, is that I've always wanted to help people. I've always wanted to help people learn, to grow, to change, because I'm in a constant state of evolution. And because of this constant evolution, I experience a high degree of freedom, personal freedom, where I'm not bound to any ideology. I'm not bound to any spirituality. I'm not bound to any of these things. I am free to take what I need from other things. It's kind of like the whole Bruce Lee philosophy around Jeet Kune Do. It's like you take what works for you and you discard what doesn't. And that's the thing. That's been my why. So anyone who is looking to take from different elements of spirituality, ideology, and assemble them like Legos into something that works for them, you're my tribe. You're my peeps, and I want to help you. Now, I've said this before, and I'll say it again, that I'm a high earner. I make what many of you will consider to be a lot of money. Now, in my career, I've helped 16 people achieve six-figure incomes. And they've been making this money for like 20 years. I've helped people become successful. I've helped a couple of friends become millionaires. I've helped people with relationships, with marriages, with family relationships. There are things that I know and I'm good at, and I help people. So when I tell you that it's my heart to help, I mean it. And mind you, there is a lot of knowledge that I've given to people, that I've shared with people, that I didn't charge a fucking dime. I mean, honestly, what I do concerning religion and spirituality, concerning politics and ideology, I do this as a public service because I'm not making a dime from any of it. But I do want people, I want to help people achieve the same level of freedom that I experience. But, and this is a big one, that I'm human. I am eminently, absolutely, totally, 100% human. And because of that, I make mistakes. I have blind spots. I don't see everything. And so that's why I depend on people. There are people who are in my inner circle that know me, K-N-O-W me, and they also know me. They N-O me. They'll come back and they say, "Hey, Derek, did you really think that one out?" But the people that know me, K-N-O-W me, they know that I'm a very strategic thinker. Now, here's one of the problems about being a strategic thinker is that sometimes you miss tactical objectives. And a lot of times in strategic thinking, people become tactical casualties. And that's something that I want to apologize for. Because, again, it's not my intent. I mean, matter of fact, I endeavor very diligently to not harm anyone. But I try real hard in the process not to even hurt them. Because I understand that hurt feelings can build resentment and cause you to disregard anything else that I say. And honestly, I don't want that to happen because I actually believe that I have something to contribute to the lives of people that I come into contact with. And I also believe that some of you, many of you, most of you have a contribution to make to me. That you have something in your life, in your mental, spiritual, emotional, physical makeup that is of benefit to me. Because I believe in synergistic relationships. I believe that we're at our best when we work together. So I think that's pretty much it. I just wanted to put this out here, and honestly, I really believe that this is the most important discussion that I've ever had. This is the most important talk that I've ever done. Because at the end of the day, my goal, my life's ambition, my heart's desire is to be a help to those who I interface with. That's my entire life's hope, dream, desire, whatever you want to call it. I want to help. And in order to be helpful, you have to be somewhat trusted. And that being said, it's important to me that I earn your trust, your respect. We don't always have to agree. We may not be on the same page. But there are people out here with whom I disagree with theologically, ideologically. But there are people in my life that I've trusted over time. They proved their trustworthiness and their value to me. And so I hang in there with them in spite of the fact that I may not always agree with them. There's an old saying that says that if two people agree on everything, one isn't necessary. I don't necessarily believe that that's 100% true. I do think that you have to have tension, you have to have some conflict, you have to have some disagreement. I think that is part that adds to the variety of life. But I also believe that if you are dealing with people who you disagree with constantly, then what you're doing is you're entertaining unnecessary friction. And if you know anything about engineering, or as far as like developing motors or powertrains or anything like that, is that you realize that friction is kind of the enemy of efficiency. So what you do is you try to eliminate as much friction as possible. But I drive an electric car, and one of the things that it has is called regenerative braking. You take your foot off the gas and it begins to slow down. But as it's slowing down, it's returning power back to the batteries. That's what regenerative braking does. So it's friction with a purpose. You see? So sometimes there is friction with a purpose. And there are people out here with whom I don't have any consistent agreement with. But they have chosen to remain in my life, and I've chosen to remain in theirs. And we have a synergistic relationship that works in spite of our disagreements. And that's pretty much all there is. So going forward, I'm going to be a bit kinder. Now, understand this: I'm not letting up off the gas on religion. I'm not. I'm going full bore to be a complete Van Helsing toward religion, with the absolute objective of driving a stake through its cold, dead heart. But what I'm not going to do, I'm not going to insult anyone. I'm not going to resort to ad hominems with anyone. And I'm not going to engage in protracted debate with anyone. If you are interested in learning about my path of deconstruction, how I arrived at where I've arrived, and I won't even say where I've arrived, but where I am on the journey. That's probably a better way of putting it. If you're interested, I'm more than happy to share that with you. However, if all you want to do is argue about what you think about what I believe or don't believe, or what I think, I really don't have time for that. Not really going to entertain it. But in any case, even if there be disagreement, even if there be a parting of the ways, we're going to do it as amicably as possible. And that's my promise to you. Because I'm a consultant also, and a consultant is a trusted advisor. And to be a trusted advisor means that you just can't come out and tell people that they're wrong. Now, I'll say that a system is wrong. I'll say that an ideology is wrong, or that a school of thought is wrong. But you, the individual, it's not for me to call right or wrong. So I'm not going to do that. So until the next time, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be filled with peace.